Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
I love this little fable. My kids hate it. But 3 frogs are sitting on a lily pad and one decides to leave. How many are left? Of course, my kids, when they first heard it, would say 2. And that sounds like very simple math of the correct answer. But the real answer is 3, because deciding to do something and actually doing something are 2 totally different things. And now I don't even have to do the whole riddle with my kids. I just say 3 frogs sitting on a lily pad, and they know exactly what I'm driving at, roll their eyes, and then take action. This is a great lead into my guest today, Erin Marcus. She's the founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business. And what she does is she helps people basically take charge of her business, take action, and get results. She's going to be a great guest for us. All my guests are great. But she has built 2 businesses to 6 figures plus in less than 12 months. Keep those numbers straight. Throwing a lot of numbers, Erin, at people. 3 frogs, 1 lily pad, 12 months.
6 figures, 12 months, 2 businesses.
6.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Yeah, there we go. So welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. You know, I love chatting, and now we get to record it and share it with the world.
I know we had to stop talking before we hit record to say we need to hit record. Yeah, give me a quick rundown of your story, and then this is audio only. People, you're not 2 years old, so
I'm not 2 years old.
Yeah, you're not 2 years old, so you were doing something and then decided, you know what, I'm going to start a business and tapped into your network.
Yes, Erin's origin story. I love how, don't let me forget tapped in your network, because I'll just jump right into this.
Okay.
So I was in corporate, right? Big fancy C-suite level job, corporate, great. Loved it. Loved the people, loved what I was doing. Got to a point in my life at around 40 where I felt I needed to do something of my own. Cried when I told them I was leaving, had an amazing transition period with a boss that made it all possible for me. And I go through that very quickly to say this. I owned a franchise. The first business that I had was a franchise, and that went great, right? I got that business to the top 10 out of 200 offices in 18 months. Again, networking, we'll get back to that. But then I did something that kind of screwed it all up. It's since been a blessing. I sold and closed that franchise and started my own business, teaching other businesses how to grow businesses, because that's really what I know how to do. But here's where it gets interesting. At that point, at some point, my network, in a way, was holding me back. And I say that because I had it in my head, no one to blame but myself, that people won't know. And by people, I meant all of my former C-suite fancy connections on LinkedIn. I had it in my head that they're not going to know my story of closing my franchise. They're going to think I failed. And here I am opening a business as a business coach and consultant. What are they going to think? Mm-hmm. And that messed me up for a good year. I was okay networking in person. One, because I have a lot of energy and I love meeting other human beings. So I'm fine walking to the room. I love it. But it really messed up the social presence, larger audience that I could have been building, because I was worried, what was my old network going to think, as if they had nothing better than to worry about what Erin was doing all these years later, right? Like, I can look back at that now and see that that was just a story I was telling myself, fear, whatever. The solution to that is get so busy and put someone else in charge of pressing the go button so that I couldn't stop it. Someone else created the website. Someone else started helping me post and got me out of the way. But it's as much as your network can pull you forward and make everything possible for you, the wrong network or your fear around it or the challenges you feel are there can prevent it all just as easily.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. I can, and I don't know if I would classify that as imposter syndrome. Maybe I guess it really doesn't matter what you classify it as.
It wasn't imposter syndrome. That's a great question. Cause I knew I could do, right. It was the fear of being judged, the fear of what somebody else was going to assume with the snippet of information they might see on LinkedIn versus the entire story.
Yeah. I mean, I can relate. I was an attorney. What do you do now? Well, I run this business. Really? You walked away from being an attorney? I got a pretty damn good business and I'm pretty happy, you know?
Right. But not getting the chance to explain that to people, you feel, what are they going to think?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I run a business that's relatively hard to explain. It's not your, you know, well, yours can be too for people who don't need it. For somebody in the corporate world who doesn't understand, who don't understand the challenges of starting a business.
I had that same assumption when before it took me a long time to start this business because I come out of corporate, and when you're not sure what to do, you go back to school, you get another degree, you get a certification, you get that came out weird, certification, right? Coaching, at least then, wasn't the go-to thing. Consulting, yes, we brought in the consulting arm, and I do call what I do consulting and coaching because some of it is telling you what you need to do and some of it is helping you do it. So absolutely.
So you've got this, you walk away from this corporate job. I love the notion that you had a boss that was supportive.
He was amazing. If I tell you that when I decided to do this, so I decided to buy a franchise and I went into the office, first having tried to bribe some of my coworkers to give notice for me. I think we were up to like, I will give you $100 if you go do this, and nobody would go do this for me. And I walked in the office, and I had been with them for 12 years. And we had had conversations in the past about crying at work and how he couldn't handle when people were upset and all these things, right? So I started off by saying, I'm going to cry and you're just going to have to deal with it because that's just where we are right now.
Right.
And I said, I found an opportunity and I think I want to do this. And he stopped everything. He called our lawyer. He called the other senior owners of the business. And we immediately went into the conference room. And he, for, I don't know, it was like 3 hours going through the paperwork, asking me a million questions. What are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about this? What do they do about this? And after several hours of this, he said, okay, you're ready. You can go do this. Like, who gets to have that?
Yeah. When I went in to resign years ago, I gave them 3 months notice.
I did too. I ended up giving 3 months notice.
Knowing I had clients I wanted to transition the right way.
Totally.
But I was fearful that I was going to be sent packing, with 3 minutes, right? I mean, get your stuff, get out of here. And it didn't happen that way, but my boss really had trouble looking me in the eye.
They were amazing. We did a thing, I had created the department of accounts, which was how we were running the business at the time. And so 70 people were used to, if they had a question, they just asked me, even though it was all documented, they just asked me because I'd done all the deals. So I knew, right? When you're the one who creates it, it's easy to remember it. And so for 3 months, we played, what am I actually supposed to do? Where he would buy lunch and everyone would come to the conference room and ask me a million questions. And then a couple weeks later, they had to come with what they already did and get feedback. And we just slowly transitioned them into not depending on me.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I'm sure those people were very appreciative, and
I'm still close with them. It's all these years later. It's 10, 12 years later, and I'm still close with them.
Well, and that's your network, right? I mean, that's what
the beginning of the network.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess let's roll forward from there. And one of the things you said to me before we hit record was, I'm going to kind of pull it back in. When you're in trouble, don't ask what.
Oh,
Ask who.
right, we do this in our personal lives, right? As soon as your kid is sick, it's what specialist do I know?
Mm-hmm.
As soon as your car breaks down, it's who knows a good mechanic. As soon as, like, right, anything we need in our world, the first thing we ask ourselves is, who do we know that can help us? Why don't we do that in our business? Right? We don't. And yeah, I watch so many business owners not do that in their business. It's right. There's a book, Who Not Water, Who Not How. I forget the title. I mess it up all the time. Either way is fine. It gets the point.
Right.
It doesn't matter what. It's who. Every big leap forward is from a who, not a what. Not a what do I do? And I'm all about, right? The tagline for the business is be in charge, take action. It's not like go meet people, but that is the action, right? And the other thing I have found is the higher you go business-wise, like the more established businesses, the more money people are making, the longer they've been in business, the better they are at networking. They don't, it's much more to the point. Can we help each other? What do you need? Who can I connect you with? How can I help you?
Yeah.
And the higher you go from a success standpoint, the faster those quick relationships are. And it's absolutely amazing. I met a woman yesterday. This is a perfect story. I met a woman yesterday. I met her on LinkedIn because she made a really nice comment on a post. I had interviewed somebody and they had interviewed me, and just coincidentally, both our episodes came out the same week. So I can't remember if this woman had posted on my episode or her episode, but she knew this other person and she made this really funny comment. So I liked it and I sent her a DM. I'm like, oh my God, you know this person. I love this person. You're so awesome. We should be connected because you're hysterical. And 2 weeks later, we get on a Zoom call. And now I have the most amazing power partner in an area of business I didn't think about before. Because she had an idea that fit perfectly with me. And we had no idea that was going to happen.
Yeah.
It's that open mind, right? It's open mind. And I used to sabotage myself. Oh my God, if I tell you, like, okay, you can't see me. I am 5 feet tall. Growing up, the visual of a successful person was tall for a female, tall, skinny, blonde, and wearing coordinated outfits, right? I learned how to be a girl in the 80s. It's got to be coordinated in order to be right. It is what it is, right? And so my visual of success from another woman was tall, blonde, attractive, and put together with an outfit and accessories and all that. And I would network and I would meet people who fit that description. And I would assume that they were successful, and I would put them on a pedestal. They didn't do it. I did it. I would put that person on a pedestal. And what that did is it made it impossible to network with them. It made it impossible to help them.
And in reality, they had
no idea what they were doing.
Yeah, right. Right. Or they may have been looking at you for the same reason.
Right.
Right.
None of us in the room knew any more than it, right? Like we were all in there together. But once you put someone above you, you almost have to wait to get their permission to even that level, that playing field in your own head, by the way. Again, they didn't do this. I did it. And it was messing me up over and over and over again, because I would meet these people. And then once I got to know them, I'm like, oh my God, they would have been a perfect client, or they would have been a perfect XYZ. But I blew my chance by skewing the relationship before it even started. And I had to figure out a different way. And because it was making me crazy. I'm like, why do I keep doing this to myself? What can I do? And so I started changing my approach to networking, or at least walking in the room, understanding that it's imposter syndrome and fear and all of the things. Like, this is Normal. I call this give yourself a break, but don't let yourself off the hook. This is how our brains work. So don't beat yourself up over it. This is normal, but don't let yourself off the hook by letting it stop you.
Right.
So, okay, what do I need to do differently? And I decided that I was going to walk in my approach to networking, and it's still to this day because it works for me and it works for my clients and everyone else that I teach this to. I walk in the room with two things that I know. Number one, I have a completely open mind. I'm not prospecting. I am completely open to anything happening. However, that does include someone being my client. I watch people swing too far away from that and they close opportunity for people they could actually help and make a difference for.
Right.
If you swing too far. So number one, I am open to absolutely anything. It might be a referral, it might be a power partner, it might be, someone for my brother, like who knows? So open to anything. And number two, I walk in knowing that I can help in some way. I can help in some way, be of service, right? So maybe that's business advice. That's great. Maybe that's a referral to someone else I know. And maybe it's just putting a smile on your face that day.
Right. I like that. I mean, I adhere to the same sort of logic. I've not the open-minded thing I need to do a better job with. But going in and I tell people, I call it the cloak of invincibility.
Yeah.
Nobody pushes away Superman. Nobody pushes away Wonder Woman, the heroes of, because they're there to help.
Right.
And that's what you're doing is you're putting that in your head.
Right. And the way that I describe this, how should you feel, right? The way that I describe this in catchier terms is I used to teach from marketing and sales. You have to show up. I don't just mean physically, but show up as the person your ideal client knows can solve their problem. But let's take it a step further. Walk into a room being the person, going back to taking action, being the person that other people know their lives are better off because you're in it. And the amazing thing to me coming out of corporate, like everybody asks, what was the big surprise? Networking was my big surprise. I was very worried leaving corporate because I worked in such a collaborative environment. Like me sitting by myself in my office, this is not where ideas happen. Mm-hmm. I need other people. My brain does not start working until someone else starts talking. It's just the way I know that it works. And I was very worried. Where was I going to find that? How was I going to do that? And part of me thought, okay, I would find it internally with my team. But truthfully, the relationships, networking was that big surprise, right? The corporate is inherently competitive because if there's 20 people on a team and only 2 managers, if you want to step up, there's only 2 slots. And if there's only 1 VP, there's only 1 slot. And entrepreneur world is the opposite of that.
Yeah. That's a hard thing for people to get their heads around.
It was shocking.
Yeah.
And again, coming out of a really great corporate environment, I still understood the inherent competitiveness of it. But entrepreneur world is you walk in the door and 20 people want to know how they can help you.
Yeah. When I first started in the private practice of law, one of my coworkers at the firm I was in an accounting firm as a tax consultant. One of my coworkers was also similarly situated, but his brother was out there in private practice, and he arranged for me to meet with his brother, which I thought was horribly odd. He's another attorney. We're all going for the same thing.
Why would I meet with him?
Right. So I sat down and I said, well, what kind of advice would you give to me? So, well, I would network with all the attorneys out there. I thought he was gaslighting me. Right. And looking back to that moment, it's like I probably could have moved myself because I can network. I can, I can have conversations. But I resisted that because it just didn't feel.
Well, 2 things. 1, it wasn't the norm for where you come out of, but 2, you're an attorney. You are trained to argue.
Okay.
You have been taught that everything is an argument, that to be won or lost.
Well, there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
As an attorney,
It's your
I told my clients I'm paid to be a pessimist. I'm
You're-
paid to look at something and see where the dark, scary things are.
Exactly. I mean, it's your legal responsibility
Yeah.
to win so that your clients don't lose.
Yeah.
That's a mindset shift. That's
Yeah.
not easy to break.
No, it's not. It's not. But I love that, just how to walk into any room and really own it.
Just by helping. Like, that's the thing. You're not going in there putting yourself above anybody. You're
Right.
going in there from a place of service. So it shouldn't be as triggering, because that approach is less triggering because you're not trying to pitch and you're not trying to sell. And I tell people, if you walk in and you feel icky, then you're right, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're absolutely right. I remember not the first networking event I went into, but one of the first, just having that feeling and realizing this is horrible. But having a goal in my mind as to what I was going to walk out with.
And going back to taking action, I love activity goals over outcome goals, because first of all, most business owners and entrepreneurs don't know what activity leads to the outcome that they want to create, specifically like numbers. So having an outcome goal will only mess you up because you don't actually know how to get it.
Right.
So it's not achievable. But an activity goal, love it. So if you're new at networking, or it's not, and I get it, you can tell by the cadence to my voice and by the energy. I love meeting other humans. I love talking to other humans. I scare the bejesus out of a lot of other humans because there's a lot of eye contact going on, and I walk up to people and I get it, and not everybody can do that. But the good news is, if you are networking as a business owner, they're all there for the same reason. Pick an activity goal, meet 2 people and get out if that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Just go up to 2 other very nervous, Heidi people and ask them, how are you doing? Tell me about what you do.
Yeah. I my metaphor for, maybe analogy, I don't know. I wasn't an English major, but I look at it as kind of like swimming. I grew up in Michigan. Getting in the lake was cold, but once you were in, you got used. Once you got in, you got used to it. It was okay. It was fun. You'd be there for hours. But it was that initial, and that's how I look at networking events, is you get in. Yeah, this is really awkward. Hey, this is kind of fun. I know you. I feel like I know you now. You know the same person, and okay, I'm going to stay. So it's not 2 people. It's 5 people I'm going to meet.
Right. And so here's another story for you. I don't know. I forget his name. I just caught him, and I've caught this all on TikTok. The PGA guy who just had like the game of his life. Block, I think is his last name.
Yeah, my kids are
golf
people.
Happened. It happened over the weekend or yesterday. I don't know. It's been absolutely amazing. So here you have this golf pro out of a place in California, gives private lessons for like $150 an hour. He just placed in whatever the PGA, he's being invited to tournaments, game of his life. And he got partnered with Roy McIlroy, I think is his name, right?
Yeah.
And so this is his idol. And during one of his interviews, they asked, did you learn anything playing with these guys? And he said, no, what I learned is I belong here. And that is everything.
Yeah.
Because when I teach my clients to network, look for a room that pulls you forward, doesn't hold you back. And I understand that room can be scary to walk into. But look for a group and a room that pulls you forward. And the way that I've been able to up-level my networking to pull me forward is by knowing and believing and behaving in a way I can help in some way. I'm not trying to be better than anybody else, because that just leads to that imposter syndrome problem. Yeah. I can help in some way. And yeah, it's scary when you just walk in and then all of a sudden, just like Block over the weekend, you realize, wait a minute, I actually can help these people. I actually do belong in this room. And even if you weren't quite ready when you started, if you keep doing it, that's how you get ready. Like you can't talk your way through this. You can only act your way through this.
Well, and in time, you become welcomed in the room because you have that reputation. Here comes Erin. She introduced me to somebody last time. I need to go say hello.
And then you get to pay it forward by pulling people up with you.
Yeah.
And you just keep paying it forward. Like my goal, and I'm happy to do it for you, and I know you totally don't need this from me, but there's nobody that I have on my show, my podcast, or who I'm not on their podcast, that I don't get them another show or show them one of the ways that I'm getting booked on 2 and 3 shows a week. I just should tell them how I do that.
Right. No, I think that's an undervalued aspect of networking is information. I think everybody's out there looking for the client. Somebody who's got a check with my name on it. That's what they want. And
look, and that's small because, like, say you charge 10 grand for your services, right? If you meet your client, they're great. You made 10 grand. But if you meet a power partner or someone that you help that becomes a raving fan,
right,
that's worth so much more than 10 grand.
Yes.
It's math. Like if you want to be selfish about it, it's still better math, right? It's still better math.
Yeah. I love it. Well, we are running out of time here. Let's shift gears, Erin. Let's talk about your business, Conquer Your Business. You're the CEO. How can people help you? Who are you looking to meet?
Who am I looking to meet? I am looking to meet. Number one, I also have a podcast that I'm happy to trade platforms on. So if you know of somebody with a podcast or you have a podcast and you want to trade platforms, I love doing that, right? Win-win, exponential SEO for everybody involved. Yay. Yeah. So reach out if that is what you have. Love helping people and meeting those people. And I am really looking right now for people who have companies that help businesses after they're successful with me. So I help with business and branding strategies that create multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses. What does that mean? That means my clients need social media managers. They need VAs. They need the do-it-for-you pieces that a growing business needs. SEO. Like I don't do those things. We do business and we do branding, but we don't do ongoing marketing and we don't do ongoing support. So I need those people.
Those are great asks. I hope everybody's listening to that. Not just to help you, but just as forms of things to ask for. Because people get stuck in, well, here's what my client looks like. Yeah, you're thinking longer term, I need to help the clients I have, number one. And when you start working with those people, those power partners, if you will, they're going to run into people who aren't either ready for what they need or you can help them along the way. So I think it's great. Best way to get a hold of you, conqueryourbusiness.com.
Conqueryourbusiness.com. It's all right there. Makes life easy for you. Put it all in one place.
All right. Erin, I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. I have a lot of notes.
Awesome. I know I did a good job if you've got notes from it.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AMSPIRIT.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.